Welcome to a new video. I am Kelsey, I'm a pattern designer, and I'm going to show you how you can take fabric in a plain lamp and turn it into a very beautiful custom lampshade. So first thing you'll need for this project is probably obvious, but you'll need a lamp. If you already have one and you're just looking to make the custom lampshade, that's amazing. But if you are still looking, I actually got quite lucky and got a matching set at my local Goodwill. So I think they were maybe like $11 and then they were running some kind of sale. So I got super lucky on that, but I needed to paint them. They were a very bold red, which is amazing if that is your home style. But for me, I wanted something a little bit more textured and a little bit more neutral. So I went with just like an off-white kind of color, and I needed to paint those. Now to start with painting the lampshades, I ended up taping off everything that I didn't want paint to get on. So that would be something like the cord or the actual top part of the light where the light bulb is going to go. I taped all that off, and then I mixed just a little bit of baking soda with the paint. It gives it like a more gritty texture. I will say use that sparingly. You can always add more layer. You can do more layers of paint with the baking soda, but the baking soda does dry out the paint. So sometimes if you put a little bit too much, it'll end up being almost like a clay consistency, and it just ends up flaking off of the lampshade itself. Now this is very dependent on the type of lamp that you have and like what it's made out of. I would definitely say if your lamp is a very smooth texture, maybe sand it just to rough up the surface a little bit. That way your paint can really adhere nicely. I want to say I ended up doing like 3 layers of this paint just because there were certain places that ended up not having as much texture as I wanted, or maybe I needed to cover up, like the red was coming through a little bit more than I wanted. It's definitely a very popular DIY that I've seen a lot of people do throughout the years, and I still love doing it. And you can add all these different colors to make it really unique and add texture in an easy way. Now for the lampshade part, you are going to start by getting pieces of paper. I just used regular 8.5 by 11 printer paper and then taped it all together. In the end, your template is going to look almost like an arch or a rainbow. So you need to account for that whenever you're taping the papers together. It's going to be larger than you think. And then once your paper is all taped together, you are going to find a point on your lampshade. For me, it was the seam of the fabric. I started there and then slowly rolled the lampshade over the paper, marking it with my pencil on the paper as it went. Now, this is a little bit time consuming, but you definitely need to pay attention to details on this one and just take your time. It is completely worth it because that template is going to be your base for actually cutting your fabric. Always give your fabric a good ironing. It might seem like a useless step, but as much as I have worked with fabric over the last few months as I was getting into sewing and doing these types of projects, ironing makes such a huge difference whenever you are in the middle of a project. Now for marking your fabric with your template, you are going to go an extra 1/2 inch above your template line, because when you made your template, you did it right up against the actual lampshade, and you're going to need that 1/2 inch of a seam allowance to be able to roll it and tuck it underneath. That way it looks like one cohesive lampshade and it doesn't just stop along the rim. Once you've marked off everything, go ahead and cut it out, and then your fabric should be in the shape of that arch. Now, I always recommend doing a dry fit with any project, but especially this one because it is a 3D object and because it is slightly larger at the bottom than it was at the top. Your fabric is going to be a little bit tricky to keep lined up and flat on this surface. So what I did was grab some of my sewing clips and just do a dry fit of the fabric to make sure everything was okay. As far as the adhesive that I use, I got Gorilla Glue spray adhesive and it ended up working out perfectly. It is a very strong adhesive. My fingers were sticking together and I had to end up getting 100% alcohol to rub my hands together just to get the adhesive off. But it did the job perfectly and it kept the fabric on the lampshade, which was kind of the entire point. So Just forewarning, it is a very sticky adhesive, but it worked out perfectly. Now take your time for this. There was a few times I had to pull the fabric off of the lampshade because it had shifted and it wasn't fitting perfectly. That is also the nice thing with the Gorilla Glue spray adhesive is it didn't dry so hard so fast that I couldn't pull the fabric up and be able to reposition it, which for this type of project is kind of a necessity. Now, as far as finishing off, I rolled the raw edge and then just did a light spray of that and then pushed it down on top of the fabric that was already laying down on the lampshade. And that just gave it an overall cleaner look. Even when it comes to lampshades that you buy in the store, they all have a seam. It's just making it look as clean as you can. Now with that 1/2 inch seam allowance, you are going to tuck it underneath the metal that is making the lampshade itself. Days later, and I don't like the base colors, so I went to Michael's and I got a different paint color. It's called Warm White. We'll see how warm this actually is, but they're too yellow. I don't like how yellow they are. They match the wall, which we've already decided is too yellow. Oh, this is all crooked. Okay. But this is yellow, and I don't want yellow. I wanted like off-white, and yeah, we're just gonna go with white now. We're gonna go with Warm White, and yeah, I think I'll just like it more. I feel like once I put the lampshade on, I realized just how yellow they were because the design is like a white tone, so it just, I don't know, I don't like it. So we're gonna repaint it, and then we will do the reveal. In the end, I am really happy that I decided to repaint these lampshades. I had gone back and forth for the few days in between whenever I'd finished the lampshades and me actually deciding to repaint it because it was just a little too yellow. I don't know if it's maybe your house because the walls have a yellow tint to it that it just kind of accentuated that, or I just picked the wrong paint color, which is totally possible. I am really happy with the Warm White though. It looked so good. Pulled out that warm coastal summer feeling whenever I had designed the fabric and designed that pattern that I really wanted from these lamps. And so I'm very happy. It was a little bit of a back and forth for a little while, not really sure if I wanted to repaint them or not, but in the end, I'm very happy I decided to go ahead and do it. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do make your own custom lampshades, I would love to see them, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.